The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
And we are back with part 2 of our episode at MIA Bruhaus on the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author. Enough about me. If you listen to episode 172, you got the first part of our interview at MIA Bruhaus. If you haven't, recommend that you stop right now, go back, listen to that interview, because we're just going to take up where we left off and head to all of the great things that MIA Bruhaus has been doing and will be doing in the future, including a return to distribution and their awesome spirits program, both of which I'm excited to learn about. Here we are with Eddie Leon, founder of MIA Beer Co., as it is now known, MIA Bruhaus, for the rest of our interview on the Florida Beer Podcast. Enjoy.
Seltzers were in for a bit. Now it's RTDs, tequila's in, there's all kinds of new things that people want to try. So it's really, you just have to be constantly pivoting now. You just have to produce something new all the time.
But I would say that pivoting is not the cheapest thing in the world to do. And especially post-pandemic and post-economic downturn, the industry has gotten pretty difficult. And I've had a number of brewers that have said, it's much more expensive to just source everything that you need. Yeah. And rents are going up. I've seen a number of breweries that had to close in 2023 because the landlords priced them out. Yeah. How do you keep that change going when it's getting more and more expensive just to turn the lights on?
That's a great question, and that's really the big problem for our industry right now is we weren't designed to be in such a competitive market, so cutthroat, and with the margins being so thin. I wish I knew the answer to that question.
A lot of people wish you knew the answer to that question.
And also keep in mind that every brewery is different. They have different circumstances or in different markets. A brewery that might be not in a major city, that is a smaller market and there's no other brewery around them, they're the place to go to. So they'll probably be doing really well, especially if they have a good tap room. But when you're in a big city where rents are very expensive and it's extremely competitive, it's I don't know, it's really tough. Because for example, Doral right now, there are so many more restaurants now than since we opened. There's so many restaurants. There's downtown Doral, there's City Place, along 87th Avenue. Now you got Twin Peaks just opened up, it's a beautiful big restaurant. And
there's a couple restaurants down here that I did not know were in the state of Florida at all.
Yeah. No, and you got Mission Barbecue also that just opened up in Doral. There's a lot of competition. So how do you keep up with that? Yeah. Man, you just gotta keep your costs down and do a lot of marketing. The one thing that does really work for breweries, though, is events, private parties and events. That's critical. That's because you can advertise all you want on Facebook, and the BOGOs and all that stuff doesn't work. I don't think people are, even though we're in a bit of a recession right now, I don't think, offering anything for free would be a smart move. I think it's just, believe it or not, trivia works really well.
Really?
Yeah. We tried karaoke, but that didn't work.
Yeah. But so many people have said that raw material pricing has gone up. The price of malt's going up. Yeast is going up. The cans have gotten really bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think cans have gone down a little bit. That during COVID, the can prices went up because everybody
was canning
because you couldn't have people in your tap room. So fortunately in Florida, we were allowed to open after only a couple of weeks because we have a kitchen. So, we didn't hurt too bad. But right now, even though the cost of goods are higher, if you're selling most of your beer in your tap room, you still have very good margins. So yeah, that's the main thing.
And that kind of gets to the interesting point about your distribution in that in 2022, you decided to end a lot of the package distribution in the state of Florida. Was a lot of that due to price increases? Was a lot of that due to the legal issues that we're still waiting on the Florida legislature to take care of? Was it a combination? What kind of led to that?
Well, we didn't, I mean, back in 22, what we realized in the beginning of 22 was that over the last, prior 5 to 6 years, every year our sales were going down and down and down and down and down. And we were on a trajectory to basically not have any distribution within, a short period of time. So we got very frustrated, and, we had issues with our distributor, and we kind of pulled out of the market. Fortunately, we resolved the issues, and now we're able to get back into the market. But the market is very different from 22. So it's gonna be an uphill battle.
Can you keep the lights on if you were to go just distribution only, or do you view distribution as more of marketing for people that go to Applebee's, try your beer, and then come here?
So, I mean, I thought we could keep the lights on with just a tap room with no distribution, and you, in theory, could, but you have to make sure your rent's not too high and your labor costs are relatively low and all of that. But you do need some distribution. The thing is, I've seen a few breweries come into town and they think, oh, we're going to make this big brewery. We're going to make these lagers and we're going to be really cheap. We're going to undercut everybody and we're going to compete with the macro brands. And they've made big mistakes. So the point is, if you're going to be, you should be in distribution at least a little bit, but the margins have to be there. You can't sell, you can't sell yourself short. You have to make a profit.
And I feel like, especially with the laws being what they are in the state right now, and we talked about the Florida Brewers Guild trying to fight this, it almost feels like the distributors have no interest in.
Why would they? They don't have to. I mean, I was once a distributor, so I know how they feel about it. And honestly, they don't want to change anything, and I can understand to an extent. But no, we do need change in Florida. There needs to be at least some sort of exception where if a brewery is a certain percentage of the portfolio, they should be able to get out, because it wouldn't impact them anyways.
Yeah, because right now you sign a contract and that contract
you're literally locked in for life, and there's no way to get out. Even if you're going by the letter of the law, you can't compete. You're screwed if you think you can get out.
What do you think it's going to take to change those laws?
I mean, the thing is that we've been in this battle for self-distro and franchise reform since I can remember, since the beginning. And every year is the same thing.
Years ago.
Yeah, and every year is the same thing. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and nothing happens. Or at least, some things do happen, but those are the little things that the distributors, don't care about. But the big stuff, that's going to take, I don't know, just politicians that really care more about us than anything. Because, we can be that squeaky wheel and let everybody know what's going on. Most people don't care. Most people, they're not going to call up their politicians and tell them, hey, please help the breweries. They need your. Most people won't do that. So unless there's some big pressure, the politicians aren't going to do anything. But I think more than anything, you would think that in this state that politicians would be pro-business and especially pro-small business.
Yes.
But I think it's all BS, and I don't think they really are.
Unfortunately, I hate to agree with you. And obviously, this is all just for beer.
Right.
But you've also decided to get into the spirits market.
Yes.
How was that jump?
It was actually pretty easy.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, since we're a manufacturing facility, it's easy to get once you have your CMB, it's easy to go and get an like your winery license, the AMW, and it's very easy to get your craft distillery license, the DDCD.
And everything is distilled here?
No. Gotcha. Some of it is, but not all of it. It's an interesting thing because beer, wine, and spirits are all each they're all very similar. It's basically alcoholic beverages, but they're all treated differently, and each license has its pros and its cons. The pros for the wine, winery license and distillery license are that you can buy in bulk, so you don't have to. You can be a winery in Florida. You don't have to produce any wine. You can just buy it in bulk, the juice, from somewhere else. Pretty much the same thing with distilleries. You can buy in bulk. You do what's called a transfer in bond. You just partner up with another distillery, file some federal paperwork, and then you can transfer bulk spirits to your facility or local facility. It can be out of state or in state, it doesn't matter. And then when you buy it in bulk, then you can do anything. You can blend it with spirits that you've already made in-house or not. You could just proof it down and bottle it, and that's your product. It's good to be transparent about it. We are pretty transparent. I think the industry it's grown, it's evolved a lot. So it's okay to have a place that just does blending, and you're just, buying bulk, let's say whiskey from different distilleries, putting it together here and packaging it, and it's your own unique product.
Now, why did you decide to get into this? Because you had the beer, you had the seltzer. Why dip your toe into this particular market?
Well, the main reason was to have a new product in the market, because I figured, spirits has been growing over the years more so than beer. So I thought, okay, well, let's try that. Let's go and create a new vodka or rum or whiskey. There's no whiskey, local whiskey here, no, other than maybe ours. And then, as we said earlier, Miami is a cocktail town.
Yeah.
But it's a whole nother industry that has its own set of issues, and getting into that for me right now, it's really hard. I like just beer alone it's quite a focus for me. But the thing is, it's really improved our taproom sales. We do sell a lot of cocktails here in our taproom, so I don't regret getting into it.
Did you always have a license to sell more than just beer?
No. I mean, you can, if you own a brewery, you can get a 2 COP license, so you can do beer and wine, or you can get a 4 COP license. But each county is different. The pricing in Miami post-COVID, the price went up over like $400,000 just for that license, so it's impossible. Whereas with a distillery license, it's only $1,000 a year.
Okay, that makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically,
don't buy.
Yeah. The what?
So don't buy it, make it.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, so the rule is you can have your own spirits and you can make cocktails with your own spirits. You just can't buy spirits like bottled already from another, company.
Gotcha. So you can't have make a Boilermaker with Jack Daniels. You have to make it with your own whiskey.
Yeah. Okay. And honestly, most people don't care. They do like what we offer. Right now we have bourbon, rye whiskey, vodka, and rum. And the vodka, honestly, it doesn't make any sense to distill that because it's so cheap when you buy it in bulk that, why waste your labor and time on something that's going to cost more money to make and it's not probably going to be as good? Because vodka at the end of the day is something that is really supposed to be odorless and flavorless.
That's basically the ultimate mixer.
Exactly.
The mixer for your mixers.
Yep. And it's very profitable, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure. But you also said the magical B word. And I've noticed bourbon has really started to take off. Yeah. Is it still popular here in Miami as much as it is pretty much everywhere else? Or is it still a vodka rum town?
Honestly, it's pretty split between in our sales. It's, I would say a third, whiskey and bourbon, a third vodka cocktails, and a third rum.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's
interesting.
Yeah, it does well.
With branding, with packaging, did you try to get it close to MIA so that way somebody can pick up the bottle and say, "Oh, I know who these people are. It looks like they're making this now."
No, yeah, I mean, I've been playing around with different brands. It's because it's just a different thing. So like for example, the bourbon, we call it Bad Eddie Bourbon.
I wonder where you got the Eddie from.
I have no idea.
And I do believe that your rum is Don Leon. Right? Yeah. I wonder where you got that from.
I'm just having fun there. It's mostly just an in-house thing. I haven't distributed any of it yet. But yeah, I mean, the only one that uses a brand that we currently have is Neon Vodka. That's the only one.
Okay. I guess the natural next question is, would you start looking at the ready-to-drink cocktail market?
In terms of production or in terms of actually being a consumer of it?
No,
because I can't stand it.
If I were better at being a mixologist, I would say I can't stand it as well. But in terms of production, because it is so hot right now.
Oh, it is. And actually, we do have a new brand that we're developing, but it's not for us. It's for a client. So we are doing some contract work on that, or you could say white labeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a small project. You know, honestly, the RTDs, I would rather have a freshly made cocktail than something in a can that's got who knows what in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it is a market that's taking off. It's easy to make. It's very easy to make because there's no fermentation. You're just mixing ingredients.
I was going to say, I would assume that it would be as easy, if not easier, to make than the seltzers.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Yeah. More profitable. Yeah, for sure.
But I'll be curious as to what will happen with that.
With RTDs?
Yeah, with RTDs.
Oh, no, I'm sure that'll remain strong for a bit. Yeah. You know,
Gotcha.
Yeah. There's so much creativity you can apply to RTDs, you know, in terms of flavors and all kinds of, you know, colors and all kinds of things. It's less limiting, I guess, than beer.
Makes sense.
But the thing with beer, it's changed a lot, and people don't stand in line for special release bottles of whatever, you know, made with crazy ingredients and stuff
I feel like
that.
the special release bottle is basically a relic of the early days.
Yeah. Now it's, you know, our biggest seller, you know, the beers that sell the best in our tap room right now are mostly light beers and IPAs, light IPAs, nothing too strong.
Interesting. Do you see, for the beer side of things, at least for the foreseeable future, that's where a lot of the energy is going to be focused?
On the lighter stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that I think that curiosity has gone away with the special ingredients, and, you know, people don't, you know, those smoky beers and, you know, those dark, you know, black lagers and all that, that's all gone.
And as you re-enter distribution, do you think you would have a different distribution profile that you're sending out versus one that people get in the tap room? You know, for example, Boulevard, when they first came to Florida, they were very IPA heavy, but if you go to Kansas City, there really aren't a ton of them there. So would you probably send out two different markets, things that you know would work in that market, but still have a slightly different profile here in the tap room?
What, you mean the beer here being made differently for what goes out?
Yeah. So like you would focus a little bit more on maybe some of the heavier IPAs, or maybe some.
For the tap room, yeah, we'll always be experimenting here and creating all kinds of crazy stuff. But that's all going to be small batch, like 7 barrels. Yeah. So there's room for error there. You know, we can create something that, as long as it's not too hoppy, it can last a bit in the tap room. We don't have to worry, and we can sell special release kegs here and there if it's not moving fast enough in the tap room. We can send it out into distro. But in terms of distro itself, though, my focus will be IPAs and lagers. That's basically it. The main one is a 6% hazy that we call Breeze that does very well in the tap room, and so far it's been doing very well in the market. And then lagers, yeah, I mean, that's, you know, the margins aren't as great, but that's what sells.
Will Tourist Trap be pushed out again?
No, Tourist Trap is in the market now. It's in distro, yeah.
Gotcha. Last question for you. If you had told yourself 9 years ago this is where you were going to be, would you have believed yourself?
No. No, because honestly, I came into this industry thinking more along the lines of creating intellectual property. Like, I thought, wow, I'm going to create this brand, we're going to distribute it, and then eventually, you know, there's no bigger pleasure than creating something from your mind, like having an idea and making it a reality, whether it's a building or a beer. You know, I like to call beer my liquid architecture.
Oh.
So yeah, so there's nothing greater than inventing something, creating something that didn't exist before. And so that was my passion, but now I'm essentially a restaurateur, you know, lately. So, because that's the only way to really make money in this biz. And I would never have imagined that. Not in a million years.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so there we are. We are going to be switching things up a little bit next week as to what it is. You're just going to have to wait to find out. But if you want to know when it gets released, definitely recommend that you check us out on social media. We are at Florida Beer Blog on Instagram, X, Threads, and Blue Sky. We are also FL Beer Blog on Facebook. You can find us on the internet at floridabeerblog.com and floridabeerpodcast.com. You can email us at floridabeerblog@gmail.com or just, I don't know, send a carrier pigeon. You can also find us on the Florida Podcast Network at floridapodcastnetwork.com, a collection of amazing Florida-based podcasts from around the Sunshine State. And definitely recommend that you check that out because we've got a lot of other amazing things on there. If you are listening to us on the podcasting app of your choice, whether it be Stitcher's dead, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, can't listen to us on Google Podcasts because that's gone, but you can listen to us on Amazon Podcasts. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube. We're basically everywhere, and it's the best way for you to do. Just like and subscribe very easily. If you can leave a review, kind of like how you can do it on Apple Podcasts or YouTube, please do that as well, because that does give us the ability to get our show out in front of more people. Thank you so much to Eddie Leon and the rest of the team at MIA Bruhaus. Greatly appreciated and love being able to get you all on the podcast. Trust me, I will try to make it out there again very soon. In the meantime, our intro announcer is Jeff Brozovich. Field producer is Steve Pekala. Executive producer for the Florida Podcast Network and Grand High Poobah is Jemmy Legagneur. This is David Butler, your host and author. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back next week. Enjoy and drink Florida Craft.